All right, hi guys, my name is Nicole Boyle and I did this project with Cy Bagley. We are going to be going over symbolic interactionism theory and the dynamics of family communication. We hope you enjoy. All right, so some of the primary terms and concepts from the theory that we're going to be looking at today are symbols, interactions, gestures, social norms, roles and rituals, and how each of these play into family communication. All right, so the book The Five Love Languages by Gary Chapman explains the different ways people give and receive love. It is also a great example of how family communication and symbolic interactionism kind of go hand in hand. In exploring family theories, Smith and Hammond said anything can be thought of as a symbol, with language being the most powerful example. And I'm sure, as we all know, within each family, people give and receive love in different ways or languages, and as Chapman puts it. And as we come to recognize the different ways our family members do this, through each of those that you see on the chart there, we will be better able to communicate our love in a way that both we and them can accept and understand. All right, we also looked at nonverbal communication, and Dr. Albert Mehrabian, I'm sorry if that is the incorrect pronunciation, author of Silent Messages, conducted several studies on nonverbal communication, and he found that only 7% of any message is conveyed through words. Of that, 38% through certain vocal elements, and overall 55% through nonverbal elements, like facial expressions and gestures. Gestures being one of the ways that we nonverbally communicate. This can be through our facial expressions, like I said, body languages, tone of voice, eye contact, and so on. In the clip on the next slide, it's a really good example of nonverbal communication, and we just want you to be thinking about what that person is conveying through their words versus their nonverbal cues, and what you can convey to your family each day.
Hello, friends. I'm your Vitameter Benjamin girl. Are you tired, run down, listless? Do you poop out at parties? Are you unpopular? The answer to all your problems is in this little bottle.
Now you pick up the bottle.
Oh.
A little higher. That's right.
The answer to all your problems is in this little bottle. Vitameter Benjamin. Vitameter Benjamin contains vitamins, meat, vegetables, and minerals. Yes, with Vitameter Benjamin, you can spoon your way to health. All you do is take a tablespoonful after every meal.
Take some.
Oh. It's so tasty, too. It's just like candy.
All right, so she goes on to do this a few more times, but she basically does the same thing. And we just thought this was a great example of how sometimes you really can be saying one thing with your words and something completely different with your body language and your face. And that can really affect how you communicate with someone, especially within your family and the people who know you best.
Hello, friend.
All right, so we also talked about social norms, and they're defined as expectations on how to act in a certain situation. And we have another little clip for you.
Looks like rain again today. Dark clouds gather and fill the sky. Don't know how to talk to you, just know how to say.
Have you got a driver's license?
Go back where you came from.
Go back where you came from.
All right, so it goes on a little bit longer, but you got the gist. We just thought this was a really good example of demonstrating how naturally observant children are, and how our role as parents and even as older siblings is really to model the correct behavior that they need to do in all of these situations, because as you saw, they really do model the behavior that they see us do, and the home really is the first place that we learn what is and isn't socially acceptable behavior. All right, this kind of brings us to the concept of interaction and the kind of interactions we have within our homes. So interactions are defined as social behavior between two or more people where some sort of interaction takes place. And one common ritual that often happens in the home is dinner time, and a ton of interaction happens in that time. So you may be asking yourself, why does this matter? What does it matter what it looks like within my home? So I have a quote here. And it says, the number of those who report that their whole family usually eats dinner together has declined to 33%. This is most concerning because the time a family spends together eating meals at home is the strongest predictor of children's academic achievement and psychological adjustment. Family mealtimes have also been shown to be a strong bulwark against children smoking, drinking, or using drugs. There is inspired wisdom in the advice to parents. What your children really wants for dinner is you. So, we see through that quote, it has research and kind of the divine inspiration of it, that having family dinner leads to a feeling of closeness among the family that really can make a difference in how you communicate with one another. All right, so Sai also made a really cool connection between marriage communication and Dr. Gottman's keys to managing conflict. The 4 ways that he said to do this were to listen to your partner's negative feelings and emotions, accept that no one is right, accept each other, and focus on fondness and admiration. And we kind of connected this to the theory in a few different ways, one being that there are 2 subjective views, right, and that everyone interprets a situation differently, and how we interpret that situation can really change the meaning of the conflict and how we react to it, and just the overall communication between you and your spouse. All right, and just to end, we have this really awesome clip on communication that I'm going to show you.
Over the last 2 years, I've traveled the world and met nearly 1,000 people diagnosed with different conditions. This experience has taught me there is one universal rule that will allow you to form a meaningful connection with anybody, enabling that person to reach their full potential. Now, before I tell you what this rule is, I must first demonstrate it for you so you can see its effectiveness. I recently met a young man named Henry. Circle. Henry is on the autism spectrum, and during the interview, he was yelling out shapes. I decided to have a seat with him. Is it okay if I sit with Henry real quick? And you go stand out there? I have an idea.
Ball. Rectangle. Bus.
Hey, Henry, will you sit right here with me? Square.
Present.
I recognized Henry's naming of shapes as an attempt to communicate, a desire to connect. So I sat with Henry and we formed a bond in a way which he felt comfortable. Rectangle.
Bus.
Circle.
Clock.
Triangle.
Pizza.
You're good. Every person in this world has a different level of communication. It doesn't matter if it's Henry, me, your great Aunt Marge, everyone has a little bit of a different frequency. But if we can adjust to these frequencies, you can form a meaningful connection with anybody.
Square looks like a present.
Let's open up the present. What's inside?
A puppy.
Is the puppy big or small?
Big.
Is it mean or nice?
Nice.
What does the puppy say?
Rough.
My friend Henry left the room. I switched over to my Ninja Turtle bow tie, and Ansel came in. It's nice to meet you, Ansel. Ansel survived a brain injury as a child. He is perceiving the world in a different way. So that is the camera. And people are watching us, seeing how great you are. Rather than forcing him into my mold, my expectation, I sat back, forgot about the camera, and wondered how I was going to connect with him. As adults, we're often stubborn. We want everyone to see us eye to eye, on our level, even though humans are all over the place. Through everyone I've met, I've learned if I remain flexible, I can form a bond with anyone. The secret to interpersonal connection and maximizing human potential is those who can adjust, inspire, You have to be willing to adapt to anyone's level of communication. And once you can look someone eye to eye on their level, they will want to learn and grow with you.
Ansel, you taught me that sometimes just being with someone is more than enough.
All right, we loved that video. So just to end from that video, as well as the things that we went over, our symbols, the nonverbal communication, understanding the importance of rituals and our role as parents. As we come to understand and work on those things, we really can have meaningful connections with our families, and sometimes better as we focus on how we communicate with one another, if we allow ourselves to be flexible and accept what they can give us, and as well as what we can give them. So thank you so much, and we hope you learned something and enjoyed the presentation.